the largest spirit competition in the world is the San Francisco World Spirits.
Okay.
We entered that one. We entered the International Micro Liquor Spirits Award and the American Craft Spirits Association. And we took the highest award in all three.
Wow.
Which is...
That's crazy.
Floors you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
We took double gold in San Francisco, triple gold in the micro liquor,
wow.
and then gold and best of class for the vodka category in American Craft.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Hustle on Purpose. We got a very special guest today, Harvey Williams. Harvey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us in your place today. This is, it's nice to get out of my office and get into somebody else's space. Love what you've got going on here. Want to hear more about it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys decided to come to our space and our little town and check us out. So
we're out in West Helena today.
You're actually downtown historic Helena, West Helena, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, I just want to dive into hearing a little bit about you and what you do, how you got here.
Yeah, well, that's been a journey. I've had a really good career outside of doing this. This is something that my wife and I decided to do after we moved back home, back to Arkansas.
What did you do before? What was the career doing?
I was, I went to school here in Arkansas and got an agricultural engineering degree.
Okay.
And
at Fayetteville?
In Fayetteville, yeah.
They've got a great program for that, I've heard.
Great program. It was small when I was there, and it has really grown since then. But I went to work in food processing.
Okay.
So I worked 25 years for a company you probably have heard of, Sara Lee. Yeah.
Okay.
Worked for those guys, and then worked for another 5-6 years for a snack food company, and left and wanted to come back home. And there's always this draw to want to come back home, right, and be close to the family, and we did that. And my wife and I wanted to start our own business. Not sure why we want to do that after a career, but
knowing what you know now, it's like, what was I thinking?
Yeah. But it's been a lot of fun, a lot of work. But we wanted to start a business, and this sort of checked a lot of the boxes for having our own business, having that business tied to our family farm. So we're happy to be back in the area.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you mentioned it being tied into the family farm. I guess, so was it kind of, you moved back and you're sitting there brainstorming about potential business ideas? How'd you go from, we want to start a business, to this is the business we're going to start? Yeah.
So I guess first thing is moving back. And we got moved back and didn't have a business in mind, just know we wanted to move back.
Yeah.
And then it was, okay, what business do we do? And my brother and dad were here farming and continued to farm. So I grew up on this same farm, right?
And farming what specifically? Like an assortment of things?
Yeah, mostly vegetables. My dad sort of transformed the farm into a vegetable operation, mostly vegetable operation. Back in the 80s when farming, got really, really tough. He didn't have a lot of acres, and if you don't have a lot of acres, traditional row crop farming is tough. So he went into vegetables. That's how we ended up into the sweet potato business in a bigger way, kind of commercial way. So we were trying to think of a business to start, and my dad and brother would go to these vegetable conferences every year, every couple of years, just to learn what's going on in the market. And they came back that year, I think it's 2016 or 2017. But anyway, he came back, and my younger brother, he's pretty excited about the conference and what they learned. But there was a guy there that had a sweet potato vodka. And he, initially, was talking about all the things that they were doing with sweet potatoes out in North Carolina. And I think they do. I think they grow a lot of sweet potatoes in North Carolina.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about the sweet potato chips and fries and pies. And he was all excited about that. And then, I work. Did I mention I work for Sara Lee?
Right.
I know pies.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't interested in starting a business doing sweet potato pies and turnovers like my brother was.
Right.
But when he mentioned the sweet potato vodka, I'm like, why in the heck you didn't start with that?
Yeah. Lead with that next time.
I think that's
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and I started researching from that point forward, and we did find a few other people in this country using sweet potatoes to make spirits.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's what I want to do. My dad had become known in the area for making some of the sweetest sweet potatoes around. So if those sweet potatoes can make a vodka, then I think we might have something.
And so you were like, I got to figure out how to make vodka.
I got to figure out how to make vodka.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I started visiting as many distilleries as I could get into, doing research.
Yeah. Well, because most of them will let you in and let you tour the place.
And in fact, the smaller ones, these craft guys, they'll let you in. Not only let you in, but they'll tell you what they're doing, how they're doing it.
Yeah.
And
they'll let you come film a podcast in their in their distillery.
Yeah. Yep. And I really felt comfortable because those craft distillers are like family. I mean, they really do try to help you.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
I was doing something different, and they're like, we've not done that, but let's go for it. This is craft. You can make all kinds of mistakes and learn and grow and figure it out.
Test and iterate. And
Yeah. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, that's cool because I like hearing that about like the distillery business because I think it's more common than people think. Because like I'll face that same thing with like real estate. Oh, yeah. Like somebody, a lot of people want to be in real estate and they don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. Like, you decided you wanted to be in vodka, but don't know where to start. And I'll tell people, you can almost any town of any real size, you can get on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I mean, any number of places on the internet and find local meetups with other investors. And I've met way more wonderful people at those things than I have not great people. Yeah. Most people there, they're trying to improve themselves and they're also willing to give you any help that they can or tell you their story or how they do a deal or whatever. Like most people are not just sitting around hoarding their knowledge like secrets. They're more than willing to help and show you things. And
that was a refreshing thing, with the this craft spirit guys. And we went to some big distilleries too, and they'll give you the tour, but they're not going to open up the door and let you see what's behind the
secret sauce.
Yeah. And speaking of craft, my wife and I had decided we were going to do this. Also, we wanted our family and parents to be, and my mom was like, "You're going to do what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to do distillery." And she didn't say that she didn't support, but she wouldn't give me all those positive vibes either. Yeah.
It is a divisive thing.
Yeah. And
some people are very against it.
Yeah. And kind of this Bible Belt area.
Yeah.
There's, and I think her idea of it was that we were going to be doing, it's going to be some sort of juke joint type thing. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And it wasn't that. So the point is I joined the American Craft Spirits Association.
Okay.
And we went to one of their conferences we were going to one of their conferences, and I wanted to take my parents, my mom and dad, so they can kind of understand this industry. My wife and I were going. It was the first one, and we took her, and she reluctantly went. And then when she got there, it was just this sea of young people doing exactly what you said. They are learning that craft, learning that industry. And when she saw all these people in there, she saw the business side of it more than, what she thought would be, these drunkards or something sitting around.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you start realizing, when you're not in that world, and this is not just spirit related, it's related to a lot of areas of just like business in general. When you're not in the world and you don't know the breadth of like what really exists, there's been a few things that like I get exposed to and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this many people that are like into this. And you start realizing like we're making craft vodka here.
Yeah.
It's not what you're going to see, it's not necessarily what you're going to see people, just getting completely out of control with, probably.
Yeah. So that was the one thing. And then, you go into this big convention center, downtown Nashville, Tennessee, and it's probably 500 people in there. And she didn't see any black people in that room either, which, it's like, wow, I mean, this is big business. There are a lot of people here. Look at all these equipment vendors, all these suppliers. The thing that put it over the top for her was we had the big banquet dinner on Saturday night of the event.
Yeah.
And there was a distillery there called Dunart Spirits. And it was, I think Chris Montana is the first black legal distillery in the country.
Really? Okay.
And he won 3 awards at that night. And my mom, I could see her sitting at the table at that banquet, and she was looking with such pride, like that's her family or her son up there.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, she was like, this is not bad. This is different than I could have imagined that it was being. So
yeah,
I'm glad that we went. I'm glad that she agreed to go. Just opened up the door for her.
And she kept
eyes.
an open mind
And she kept an
about
open
it.
mind.
Like that's also really great. It's like not just, I didn't like the idea to begin with, so that's going to be my stance on it forever.
Yeah.
Props to her for allowing her eyes to stay open.
But you know what that did teach me, though, that as close as I am to my mom, there are people in this area who would probably have that same thought. So it dawned on me, these tours that we do, we open people's minds about what a distillery is. I mean, people's relationship with alcohol, typically, especially in this area, is at the retail level. You go to the liquor store.
Yeah.
But when they come in here and they go to the very back, and I give a tour talking about it, we bring in these sweet potatoes, we bring in this corn, we grind this stuff up, we mash, ferment, we cook this, distill it. When they see that whole process, I think it opens up a different world to the whole industry and alcohol. And most people haven't seen sweet potatoes fermenting in a vat before.
No, I certainly haven't.
Yeah. So they see that, and then they smell that aroma. Like this is so different and special here. So
you've already sold me. I don't even drink, and I'm like I'm gonna leave here with a bottle of it, because assuming there's some in here.
Oh, there's some around.
There's got to be.
There's some around.
Like number one rule of business is like make it as easy as possible to get people's money.
Yeah. But we it is not just about the alcohol either, and that's what my wife, because our good friends say, you guys are in the distillery. What are you doing? Y'all don't even drink like that. What's going on? And I'm like, well. We found saw an opportunity to create something unique, something different, something good, something that people will enjoy. And our mission is not to, have people in trouble with alcohol or anything. Our mission is to have them delighted with something that's created right here in Arkansas, in our hometown, grown on our farm. And if you're interested, I could give you the history of that farm, which has been in our family for since my great grandfather.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's like, I can see. We talked a little bit off camera about the Battle of the Brands. I mean, there's something to stories that can't be just like easily replicated. Yeah. I feel like that when you've got a history like that, I mean, you're distilling spirits from vegetables grown on a family farm that's been in your family since your great grandfather. It's like, that's incredible. How cool is that?
It really is. And for us, the story continues to unfold because we didn't know all of this story until, Donna and I were doing this project, and then, my dad started telling us about my grandfather, and we learned more about the land. So it just has continued to unfold and be a rich part of our family story and history.
Finding affordable quality property and casualty insurance can be a pain, but Little Rock-based JTS has the protection real estate and property owners need. From liability and property coverage to plans for loss of rent, renovation projects, and more. Just give Matt Barger a call at 501-231-1611. He even has markets for short-term rentals like Airbnb, as well as vacant, owner-financed, and rent-to-own properties. Call Matt today at 501-231-1611 or email him at matt@jtsfs.com. The most common question I get asked is, GT, how do I get started in real estate investing? And my go-to answer is to go talk to Robbie Cole at Benchmark Home Loans. Robbie will help you figure out the best loan option for you in your current situation and help you with long-term planning as well. He gives out free advice 7 days a week, and he would love to help you. So if you're one of the people that's been afraid to start that conversation, I encourage you to stop right now and call 501-777-9995 so that you can start your investing journey or take it to the next level. Once again, that's Robbie Cole at Benchmark Home Loans, 501-777-9995. Yeah.
So let me start with my great-grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, please do.
In the late 1800s, my great-grandfather started farming our land.
Okay.
And he was a sharecropper. He didn't own that land.
I was about to say, how did that?
Yeah, he didn't
work?
own it, and
Yeah.
he was just like many other farmers. They were working to, for that American dream to own their farm.
Right.
Worked his whole life. Never actually was able to get that farm. But his son, my grandfather, Harvey Williams, was able to. He really continued down that same path of sharecropping that land.
Yeah.
But in 1949, he was actually able to buy the farm out of sharecropping.
Wow. Okay.
Which, as I think about that now, that still was a pretty big deal. So even that
100%.
wasn't as
Yeah.
straightforward of a path as you and I might think. Like, you just go
Is
buy
this
the
your
farm.
mom's dad?
My dad's dad.
Your dad's dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad's dad. So he did that. And he was a cotton farmer, just like many were. And he picked, his family's cotton that year, just like he had in many years past. Mm-hmm. But that particular year, he had already found out what he owed on the farm. He took his cotton to a different giner than his landowner. And, I think about that now, why he did that. And that was to get really what the cotton was worth. And he took that, and the story gets even more complex because he took that money, those proceeds, added the money he was making on the side, making moonshine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And went and bought the 86-acre farm.
Wow.
Which we still have today. Yeah.
Wow.
And believe it or not,
moonshine's in your blood.
I did not know that.
Now you know.
And I was going to say, our family didn't really know that until like 6 years ago. We were in this building, and my dad, there's a jug over in that corner I'm going to show you later.
Okay.
My dad comes in with this jug and says, "Hey, your granddad, used to do moonshine, and here's one of his jugs, which is the only evidence that we have left of your granddad doing moonshine."
Wow.
I mean, okay, what's your reaction to that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gotta be in the distillery. It's
so I'm like,
family artifact.
why don't we know that? Why haven't?
Yeah.
And my dad, he's kind of a no nonsense kind of guy. He said, "Well, it just never came up." I'm like, okay.
You never asked.
I never asked. Yeah. So that became such a fascinating piece. And then my dad, fast forward, he started farming after my granddad. And those 86 acres were not enough land, in the 80s and early 90s to really sustain farming, with cotton and corn and soybean and wheat. I mean, you needed more acres to be able to. Which, you see it now. You either get big or get out. That was the mantra at
All the people
time.
I know in farming, it's like they talk about thousands of acres.
Yeah. So that led him to one of three choices, right? Get out, and many people did. Try to obtain enough acres via purchase or lease or some way, or diversify. My dad chose to diversify, which is how we ended up into the vegetable business.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then I guess you could fast forward another 30 years, and my wife and I come back home, and we're gonna, call ourselves doing something else with that farm.
So you grew up here.
I did.
With your family farming.
Yeah.
And what's like the education background of the family? Were you kind of the first one to get out and go to Fayetteville and do something like agricultural engineering?
No, my mom went to college over in Pine Bluff, UAPB.
Okay.
It was called AM&N at that time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only remember it as UAPB.
Yeah, my mom went to college over there. My dad went for a semester, and I think he got called to the Army or something.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, but I was wanting to go to Pine Bluff, but they didn't have an agricultural engineering program. They had a pre-engineering program.
Okay.
So that's one of the primary reasons why I ended up in Fayetteville.
Right. And was the goal was to get knowledge there to bring back to the farm? Or was it to go there and get knowledge and get out?
No, that is so interesting that you say that, because most people wouldn't guess that. My idea was I was going to go get an ag engineering degree, and I was going to come back and be a farmer. I was just going to be a smarter farmer.
Right.
And I got up there, got married, and
it's always a woman.
It's always a woman.
It's always a woman.
Yeah.
Changes the plans quick.
Yeah.
She's like, I think you should get a career.
Yeah, so I got introduced to a career, and my wife, she's actually from the area too.
Okay.
Yeah. And we got married and started working. And had really good careers. I had a career in ag engineering, and she in IT, and we lived all over this country.
Wow,
and
that's cool.
Did a short stint in the Netherlands, which was nice, right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'll just ask. I don't imagine there's a lot of Black people in the Netherlands.
No. There wasn't.
Yeah, I would think it would feel a lot like that conference where it's like.
Yeah, but it never felt like you were alone.
Okay.
Because it just,
they're nice.
They were good people, and they were about the business of work and living and enjoying life. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yep.
I could just see there being a potential for it being odd.
Yeah. Yep. But it opened up our minds to the world beyond the U.S.
Yeah.
And we had our kids over there, and my middle son.
You had your kids while you were there?
No, we took them over there.
Oh, you took them with you.
So they had sort of this international experience, right?
Yeah.
So the middle son somehow made up his mind when he was there that I'm going to live overseas one day. And sure enough, when he got out of college, he went to work for a company, and about a year in, he said, "This is boring. I want to do something else." And the next thing we know, the kid is telling us, "Hey," or the young man is telling us, "I'm moving overseas." And he moved to Madrid, Spain.
Wow.
for a year and 18 months, and taught English.
Okay.
That student teaching visa was up. He said, "I'm not ready to come home." He went to graduate school over there and stayed another year or so.
Yeah.
And the pandemic happened.
Oh, man.
And ran him home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, that is, and so he's here now. He works here.
He does.
Is he itching to go back, or is he now kind of?
I think he likes what he's doing. He likes what we're doing in terms of building this family business.
Yeah.
But he could see himself living overseas still.
He just got to stay. You know what it's going to be?
What's that?
It's going to be wherever he finds a girl. Or does he have one?
No, he doesn't. We have.
He's going to meet
two
a girl
sons.
here, and that's going to be what. It's going to depend on whether she wants to stay or she wants to go.
I think you're right. Yeah. We have two sons. They both work here at the distillery with us, which I never imagined having my boys working a business with me. I grew up working with my dad because we grew up on that farm, right?
Well, that's you may have been born out of necessity for hands on the farm.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like that's historically that's been a real thing, right? It's like you have kids because
that is true.
At a certain point, you're just okay. I got to make it. If I have a kid now, I'm a spend a lot of time and, all kinds of resources on the farm to get them to working age.
Yeah.
and then we have help.
And I think that's the way it was on farm family life then,
Yeah.
right? They had
Yeah.
big families. My dad had 10 other brothers and sisters. My mom had 10 other brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And they worked and grew up on that farm. Now, there was also the negative side. They all migrated to the north or somewhere other
Right.
than, the south when they got older.
Yeah. Well, they had kids out of necessity for help on the farm
Yeah.
and because what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
They didn't have Netflix.
No, that's true.
It's like, by the time my wife got pregnant with our third kid, we started having people like, can I get you a cable subscription? Y'all need something to fill your free time.
Yeah. Agreed.
So how is it having your children work for you? So all of my kids are young, but I could see that just being, knowing quite a few people now that have various family that work for them, including their kids.
Yeah.
I'm a part of a few different business groups, and it's mixing that business and family. It can be so great.
Yeah.
And I think it also it has some potential downsides. So you have any advice for how people can navigate that?
Well, be open to change. We had great father-son relationships, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're your kids. But a working relationship is, I won't say totally different, but there's a difference in the boss and the son, and the boss and the and the dad
Right.
and the son. So I had to learn to listen, probably to their concerns and what they wanted. I knew leadership and leading a team. I was general manager of a manufacturing facility, a couple of manufacturing facilities with over 800 people, right? So I had to
Wow.
lead and
Yeah.
lead a team. But these are your kids.
They're your kids. Yeah. It'd be hard for me. I'm trying to forecast into the future here. So my one son is 3 years old.
Yeah.
And I can see 15 years from now, 20 years from now, it's going to be hard for me to learn to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, at that point, when he's 23, he probably be smarter than me and have a bunch of great ideas.
Yeah.
But it's going to be hard for me to not just see him still as that 3-year-old kid he is today that isn't anywhere close to self-sufficient. I have to do everything for him.
Yeah. I think you just touched on one of the keys, which is being open to learn from them.
Yeah, it's going to be
because
tough.
you spent that whole time always in teaching mode.
Right.
And I think even one of my kids even said, "Hey, Dad, this doesn't have to be a teaching moment." Like,
ooh,
you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has been really good. And right now it's just us in the family, me, my wife, and our 2 sons. So it's great to get all of these dynamics worked out now. So when we bring other people into the fold, we won't have that drama or those things to work out. Like, this is how it works. Here's standards. Here are expectations. Here are the values that we're going to live by here at work. So that has actually been good. And like I said, I had to learn. And my wife is the referee. She keeps us all in line. I mean, if it gets out of hand and she walks out of that office, we all just stand like deer in the headlight looking at her. And she'll say, enough of that.
She gives you the Matumbo
Isn't that crazy?
finger wag. It's like, it's so funny.
Yep.
I heard a guy, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he built a huge business, and he had brought his father in and either 1 or 2 brothers into the business.
Okay.
And they ended up selling that business for like a ton of money. And this interview was after he had bought the Utah Jazz.
Oh, okay.
And I forget, like I said, I'm blanking on the guy's name, but the interviewer was asking him about, how was it working with family? And he was like, really tough. But I realized a couple of things. He was like, I realized I could have harder conversations with them than I could with like typical employees. Cause at the end of the day, like we're family and like there's that, blood is thicker than water, and we can recover from some harder conversations than maybe you could with some employees. And he's like, and the other thing was, he was like, I wanted to take my company to the top, that he was big, ambitious goals to grow this thing. And he was successful and sold it for, like I said, a ton of money, successful on that part. And he was like, I realized that if I really wanted to get there, did I want to, get to the top of the hill and be celebrating alone? And that kind of stuck with me. I was like, I don't want to get to whatever the top of my mountain is and be celebrating alone. Will some of it be tough because family's involved? Like, sure. Yeah. But is the risk worth the reward? I think is what I ask myself.
Yeah. I can see that. Because, I started out talking about, we've had our careers.
Right.
We're building a business for these boys and this next generation. Right. Yeah. And I want them to be prepared to lead, but learn along the way, learn this business. They're back there grinding grain and cutting potatoes and bottling and learning the whole craft of it all, but also have them in distribution conversations. We're in contract discussions. So I think they're learning more than they probably give themselves credit for.
Oh, yeah.
Because one day, this is going to be their business, and their wife, my wife actually tells them, look, this is going to be you guys' business. Learn everything that you can from your dad and me. But one day you're going to send us a check and we'll just tell you where to send it to, but you're going to take this thing over. So I'm more of the pusher and driver, and my wife balances that with celebrate the wins, the moments, and I need that because I'll just keep on driving.
Yeah. We sound very similar this may resonate with you. So I forget the institution. It wasn't Harvard, but it was like something similar. And they did a study, and I think it pertains to people whether you're religious or not. But it was a study on quote unquote like successful Christian homes, and it was a really long survey. I'm going to drop the ball on all the like statistics on how long and how many families, but it was like a really comprehensive study over a long period of time. Yeah, and they were trying to figure out what successful Christian homes do to raise good children. And at the end of the study, they were like, we found two commonalities.
Okay, I'm intrigued now.
The two commonalities were extremely high expectations for your kids. And the second one was an overwhelming amount of love and affection. So, and they, they talk about it at length, and in the study talks about, kind of the reason why they think that is. Yeah. Because you just have too much of one or too much of the other, right? Like one, if it's just high expectations and that's it, it's a cold place, and like, there's some downsides to that. If it's just overwhelming love and affection and nothing you do is wrong and there's no expectations to go along with it, then, your kids are just kind of aimless and whatever. And I was encouraged by that because my wife and I kind of naturally gravitate to those two roles. Yeah. They get an overwhelming amount of love and affection from my wife, and they get really high expectations out of me. I
was thinking the same thing. Yeah. Like, wow, we somehow accidentally balanced ourselves into that. Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah. Yeah. It sometimes, it causes a rub or conflict with your wife and I, and you talk it out and figure it out. Like, well, they need both. So let's figure out
you can use this to tell you, well, like, listen, you give them the love and affection, I give them the expectations, and Harvard says it's a good thing, or whoever it was. Good. GT said it was a good thing, and GT, surely he knows what he's talking about. He's got a podcast.
Yeah. That's what matters.
Aaron's over there laughing. Like, don't listen to me. But I'm kind of in the same boat with, it's nice that your kids are older in a way. Like I have no idea if my kids will be interested in my business at all. You know, I probably selfishly, I hope that they are, because so much of what I'm doing is just trying to, you know, I think as a parent, we all want our kids to be better than us, right? And so I just feel like what I'm doing is trying to, you know, lay a foundation for them to just continue to build off of. And it's cool that your kids are in here learning all the parts, because hopefully they'll be overseeing people that will then do all those things. And, you know, it's why so many big companies hire from within, right? Like McDonald's, for example, notorious for hiring from within. I mean, I think their CEO started off as like, you know,
flipping burgers or something.
Flipping burgers. Yeah. And because of that, you know, he's gone through the ranks. Now as a CEO, he can still talk from a perspective of, I understand what it takes to, you know, fry the French fries right.
That's right.
You know, he can, as the CEO of a huge multi-billion-dollar international, I mean, just off the charts, massive company, can still to this day walk into a McDonald's and say, hey, you're not doing that right. And your kids will have knowledge that they can still oversee everything, you know, as it continues to grow, and still be like, I used to be the person that did that job. And
of course, I have this vision that we're going to be much bigger than we are, and this is going to be an automated place, and you know we're going to be cranking out a lot more. But they will also remember washing these potatoes by hand and grinding these grains and carrying these totes and manually dumping them over into the cookers. Be sure to
take pictures. They'll be on the walls one day.
That's absolutely right.
I mean, like it's kind of crazy to think about, but I mean, when your grandkids are working in this place, they're not going to believe that dad, your kids used to hand wash sweet potatoes. You know, you need pictures to prove it. You're gonna be like, dad's never worked a hard day in his life. He sits in the corner office and drinks sweet potato vodka all day.
And even now when we go back there, we've got a washer, right? And it's hard to remember the days where we had to just hand wash them, and we just dump them in this washer. In the future, we will dump a full crate into this machine, and it will wash, conveyor them down, dump over into the cooker. I've got it all thought out.
I'm sure your engineering brain's already got it built out in your head. It'll be a full like How It's Made episode. I'm sure. Did you used to watch that show?
I did.
I am not an engineer, but I just used to love watching that show and like watch how they do all that stuff. I think like, you ever watch the tinfoil episode? It's a total tangent. Tinfoil. But like, it's one of my like favorite episodes. How they just take like, you know, aluminum just comes in on a truck in like just a big chunk of like aluminum. It just goes through roller. And, you know, why tinfoil's shiny on one side and dull on the other.
What's that?
Is like, to get it as thin as tinfoil is, they have to double it up. So it actually goes through that final roller in two sheets. So the side that touches the rollers gets shiny, and the side that's pressed against the other, that's facing each other is the.
Now I know.
Yeah, like there's no real reason why it's like made that way. It's a product of like how it's made.
How it's made.
Yeah.
Now I know.
That total tangent, but I can geek out over how it's made. Days.
Yeah, I could too. I like that.
So speaking of how it's made, maybe just tell us a little bit of what the process looks like, because y'all are, you know, it sounds like basically farm to table, but in a
farm to bottle.
Yeah, farm to bottle.
Yep,
there you go.
It is.
So, are you're still involved in the farming process as well?
I am.
Okay.
Our farm is about 20 miles from where we sit.
Okay.
And we're still growing potatoes. My brother, you know, my dad passed 2 years ago, so my brothers and I are trying to keep things going. And he's growing corn and wheat, and grew some rice this year for the first time.
Okay.
But what we're
You can, and is that with the, sorry to interrupt you, but is
No.
that with the purpose of distilling something else with rice?
No, he was just trying a different crop.
Okay.
Yeah. But I have thought about a rice gin.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was like,
Yeah.
it's two different ways of thinking, I'm sure. It's like growing rice for sale as rice,
Yeah.
or to use as an ingredient in a product here.
Yeah. My dad always talked about taking something and value adding. That was his thing. Value add.
Yeah.
And it was to decommoditize something. Like you could sell a bushel of sweet potatoes, but you take that same bushel of sweet potatoes and turn that into a pie, a tort, in this case, a vodka.
Yeah.
And then you're going to delight the customer more, and
Right.
your margins are going to be much better.
Right.
Yeah. So that has always kind of stuck with me. Like, how do you value add something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I deal with value add stuff all the time with it's real estate in my business. But it is an interesting thing, how to add value best. Like like when you start looking at like highest and best use of something is like a common phrase in real estate. Cause it's like, a piece of real estate to one person isn't worth as much as it is to somebody else. Somebody else, their mother may live next door, and all of a sudden, like that piece of real estate's really valuable to them.
That's right. That's
you know,
right.
like your sweet potatoes, if you set up a stand out front of here, may not sell for as much if you go to like the farmer. You just take those same sweet potatoes, but you take them to the farmer's market in the Heights. And all of a sudden, like they're worth 4 times as much or whatever.
That's right. That's right.
But it's really, I get so stuck in kind of the math of that.
Yeah.
Because you can spend so much time just kind of diving into what is the highest and best use. Because like, okay, the potatoes are worth 4 times as much if I take them to the Heights. Well, the Heights is 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
And like, okay, how much do I have to pay somebody? Is it, does the price offset the expense? And and then all of a sudden I look down and it's been 3 hours and I'm like, was any of this time I spent working on this math worth the, just get myself stuck in like rabbit holes.
It is worth it to know your cost though.
Right.
And have a really good handle on your cost of goods. I mean, I've learned that to the minutia of that bottle cost me this much to make, from the label to the cork to the juice in the bottle and everything associated with even the lights. What gets, so that has been something that has helped you make good business decisions about every move that you make, and is it worth it? Yeah. So getting back to the farm, we grow the sweet potatoes, we grow the corn, and the vodka that we make is made from those 2 ingredients, sweet potatoes and corn.
Okay.
Yep.
I know nothing about vodka and how it's made. So you need both.
You need one or the other. I mean, you need
You make some with sweet potato and some with corn.
For us, we're making one vodka, and it has a blend of sweet potatoes and corn. Okay. You take the most popular vodka out there is 100% corn.
Okay.
You take some vodkas out there, they're made with 100% wheat. And there are some potato vodkas out there, like white potatoes.
Yeah.
We just came up with the unique blend for ours, where we take sweet potatoes and we ferment, mash those. We do the same thing with the corn. We blend those and we distill them.
How many iterations did it take you to feel like you got that combination right?
A lot. I mean, it took months. It really did. Just because the first batches that we were making was 100% sweet potatoes. Yeah. Which is what my goal was. I set out to say, can we make a sweet potato vodka? And it was good. It was vodka. It was coming off the still at 190 plus proof. But it was just too dirty, too earthy to me. Okay. So we started blending that with some grains, and it wasn't corn initially. I mean, we had wheat, we were trying barley, we had corn. And then we landed on a combination of sweet potatoes and corn, a percentage of sweet potatoes, and it's more sweet potatoes than corn, but we had to add something to try to balance and blend that sweet potato down to give it a unique flavor, still vodka, but it hits the palate, and that is a delicious sip.
Well, at the end of the day, it's got to be good.
Yeah,
right?
It's got to be
like
good.
It's pretty important.
Yeah.
So you were doing this at a different distillery. I assume you didn't have all this built at this point.
No, we actually bought an R&D still, bought a small still, and was testing. And I checked with...
you can do that?
Yeah, I actually called Little Rock ABC. I had already started applying for the federal license. And you can't get your state license until you get your federal. So I had already applied for the federal license, and I called Arkansas ABC and talked to the director, and they said, yeah, you can do that as long as you're not selling, because we got to collect taxes on anything that gets sold, and you can only produce this much. Okay. So if you're only producing this much and you're not selling any of it, then you're okay. The government's not coming knocking on your door.
Right.
Yeah. So we tested and allowed us time to perfect it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love hearing that story, because it's, I think, like I mentioned before we got on camera, it's like, I just love the stories of, the best businesses are founded out of an opportunity, not like a need for money. Like I get approached by people that are wanting to get into business all the time. And anytime somebody's like, well, I'm going to start this business because I think it's a way that I can start making money. And it's like, it's a red flag for me, because it's like, that's not probably going to be a strong enough why to just get through all of the kicks in the teeth you're going to take. And it's better when it's started from an opportunity. You had an opportunity where apparently, farming and distilling were in your family lineage. You had a product already, which was great sweet potatoes. And now it's just, okay, we may be onto something that's a higher and better use of, or how to value add to those sweet potatoes. And then it's like, it sounds, you have this agricultural engineering background, but it doesn't sound like a lot of distilling background. No. But like you through taking that imperfect action and just continuing to push forward, you figure out, okay, I can get my federal license, and then that lets me get my state license. And next thing you know, you're mixing up vodka and testing out different ways to do it.
And here's the other thing. We weren't huge alcohol connoisseurs, so I didn't know what a good vodka was or bad vodka. So my son and I, we went to the liquor store and we bought like a plethora of vodka, right? We bought the cheapest stuff they had in the store. We bought what the stores had in terms of most expensive, and we bought stuff in between. And we tasted all of that to try to figure out what differentiates these vodkas. Not that we were trying to replicate anybody. We just wanted to know what's good. What's good.
What justifies the expensive price tag of the good stuff.
That's exactly right.
Because you want to, at the end of the day, like as a business owner, you just want to justify an expensive price tag.
And as it turned out, our finished product ended up being a premium vodka, what's considered on the market a premium vodka. So we're competing with the brands that you would consider premium, the Grey Gooses, the Belvederes, and so we price point ourselves at that. It's locally produced, made. I think it has an amazing story behind it.
It does.
It connects 100%. And resonates with people.
And I couldn't tell you the story of any of those like top tier, or whatever premium brands that you talked about. It's like you buy it because a name on a bottle, and you just, at least in my experience back when I was drinking, it's like you just bought it because somebody else says it's good. It all kind of tasted the same to me.
And then my son wanted to enter these competitions. Here's where young people come in, because I wasn't ready. I'm thinking, we haven't perfected this. What like, no, Dad, we're good.
Well, at least you'll get some feedback.
So he entered. We entered 3 competitions that first year out of the gate, 2022.
And these are pure tasting competitions.
These are blind tasting competitions. The largest spirit competition in the world is the San Francisco World Spirits. We entered that one. We entered the International Micro Liquor Spirits Award and the American Craft Spirits Association. And we took the highest award in all three.
Wow.
Which is...
That's crazy.
Floors you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
We took double gold in San Francisco, triple gold in the micro liquor,
wow.
and then gold and best of class for the vodka category in American Craft.
And that's just blind tasting. It's not like taking into account the story or anything. It's just
it's just tasting
purely
your vodka.
based on the merits of the product. Wow.
Exactly. In fact, the San Francisco, it carries such weight because all of the judges have to give your product have to give your product a gold for it to be double gold. Now you can still get gold if one of them gives it something less than gold.
Okay.
Right? You get a gold.
Yeah.
But every single one of those judges to give it a gold gets you a double gold
wow.
with them. And
what is the you mentioned triple gold. What is triple gold?
Yeah, that was the International Liquor Spirits Award. It's just as prestigious. It just doesn't have the thousands of entrants, I don't think, as the San Francisco one does.
Okay.
And we won double gold in the San Francisco for 2 consecutive years. And
wow.
then last year, 23, we got selected to be represent one of the vodkas, one of the best vodkas in the world. So we ended up in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
They had 4 vodkas that were competing for the best vodkas in the world. 2 from the U.S., we were one of them, 1 from France, and 1 from the U.K.
Wow.
But to be in that mix, right?
Yeah,
and
incredible.
It was incredible. They didn't do the competition like your first, your second, your third, and your fourth. They did it like they just picked the top guy. And the top vodka in the world that spring, which was 2023, was the one from the UK.
Okay.
And, we from Arkansas.
Yeah.
And they didn't say who's number 2. So I'm taking it we're tied for number 2 in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just to be in that mix, to be one of the best vodkas in the world, is still pretty amazing to me.
It's such a crazy story because it's just like, I mean, who could have ever imagined?
I know.
Right here in West Helena, Arkansas, on
right here.
A family farm that's been in the family for generations. You've been growing sweet potatoes that make one of the best vodkas in the world.
Who knew?
I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy.
It is. It really is. And we're humbled by it. We still, have to get out there and work and get exposure and get people to try your product. Because
right.
to your point, you say you go to the store and people are going to go in there and they're going to buy what they know.
Right. Yeah.
So my point is to try to get, sips to lips and they try it. And
right.
once they try it, like, this is, this is a really good vodka, a really amazing story, and it's made here locally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just have the uphill battle of, I'm sure, like it sounds like you're like me in a lot of ways. Like I have a hard time feeling like I've repeated something, and it sounds like you're kind of getting to that point where to yourself, you're going to start feeling like a broken record.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the message just has to get pounded so much.
Yeah.
Because man, it's such an incredible story. And I'm so glad we're here. I hope that like we can get this in front of some people because, I love everything about that story. And it just is like a cherry on the sundae that, on top of this incredible story, it's like world-renowned vodka.
Yeah, yeah. Which that's icing on top, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like now, it's like you just have that uphill battle of we have this incredible vodka and this incredible story, but how do you tell somebody that's just looking at a wall of vodkas?
Yeah. Yep, and it is a crowded aisle. You go down the vodka aisle, it's a crowded aisle.
A lot of options.
So on our bottle, we have the sweet potato name in orange.
Okay.
Just to grab your attention, you walk down the aisle and what's that orange? And if they see the sweet potato, the first thing in marketing is to try to get them to pick it up off the shelf. If they get it off the shelf, you're not halfway there, but
that's true.
At least you got them looking at it, and maybe they're intrigued enough to say sweet potatoes.
What's on the
vodka.
back of this bottle?
And you go to the back of that label.
Right.
Guess what's on the back of that label?
Your face.
No, it's it's some Delta Dirt.
Yeah.
We put dirt on the back of that.
Like actual dirt?
Actual dirt. Yeah.
Cool.
On the back of that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It would get
It's
my attention.
I mean, it's a marketing thing. I'm very familiar with manufacturing. I wasn't so familiar with this whole marketing, social media, but
branding.
But my son is,
Good.
and he enjoys it. So that's
it's a valuable skill set to get really good at.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is all very new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I am way more interested in like helping other people like market themselves, just because my business is really pretty small, and like I don't have something like a great vodka to sell.
Yeah.
I have houses that I rent, and that's a business as old as time itself, like it's pretty, my marketing and needs and stuff like that are really non-existent.
You got to let them know they're going to have a great customer experience.
Yeah, right. And I hope they do. That's right. We're delivering that to our residents. But it's right. It's an uphill battle, but it's one that's definitely worth fighting, because I think, it sounds like just more people need to hear about it. And I can guarantee you, especially after hearing this, like I need to buy some vodka from you today.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, from the very beginning, I mean, our intent was about raising spirits in the Delta. I mean, we could have put this space and this place anywhere.
Right.
But we put it close to the farm, close to the area. This is the Delta. Now, we're right on Cherry Street in downtown historic Helena, right? And it's home of King Biscuit Blues Festival, which is like a world-renowned blues festival, right?
Yeah.
But this area also kind of boasts some other things that are not so great, right? We have, and it's okay for me to say this because it's the truth, we have the highest poverty rate in the state. This area.
This area.
Yeah. And we have, we were listed in 2023 as the worst place to live in Arkansas. But then you come in this space, and it is ripe for a comeback. It is ripe for investment. It's ripe for, particularly coming off the pandemic, where people can live and work wherever they want to.
Yeah.
And
West Helena gets internet, it's like you can.
So I believe in the area. I believe in our business. I believe that, things can be better than, people have given it credit for. Mm-hmm. So I have to believe that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm in the same boat, just more, like Arkansas in general. Like I was born and raised here, and I mentioned before we got on camera that I just have a real passion for doing anything that I can to help Arkansas be on the map.
Yep.
Because I think I don't really know anybody that's come to Arkansas and visited and not left with their preconceived notions changed.
Shattered.
Right.
Really? Yeah.
Because you come and you see it and you're like, oh, this is beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can get where you're trying to go without sitting in traffic for 3 hours. And, there's a lot of wonderful things here. There's a lot of wonderful businesses here. Mm-hmm. There's just really cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
And even living here, I learn about cool new things going on in Arkansas all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I claim to be an Arkansan, I'm just now learning about this stuff. Like, we really need to all kind of come together and do what we can to promote each other and promote the state, because it's the rising tide raises all ships.
That's right. I fully agree. I mean, this place, last year we won the governor's tourism attraction of the year award.
What?
And
where are all the, do you have like a trophy room? Is it your office?
I do have some in the office, but that table over there has a list of trophies over there.
Man.
And so every weekend, and we're only open on the weekend, we work 7 days a week. but we're only open here on the weekends.
Yeah, there's a lot that's got to go on to make stuff happen.
Right. But we get visitors from all over the state in here every weekend. And even now, I'm still just honored that people would drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to see us.
Right.
You know, I'm happy about it.
I did it today.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just speaks volumes to what you're doing here, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, and it's so cool. Like, I mean, there's so many aspects of it that are amazing. The lineage, the history, and exciting prospects of like where you're going to. I mean, I think this is only limited by the awareness that you have, and by how much you're going to be able to make.
Yeah.
How many sweet potatoes you can grow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of problems you want to deal with, right? It's like, can we produce enough sweet potatoes to keep up with demand?
Yeah. Yep.
But then you just get to start doing stuff like raising the price.
Yeah. And we released a gin a year after we released the vodka. And then we have our bourbon type product coming out this year. So people have been waiting on.
Because you can't call it bourbon, right?
I can't call it bourbon. I did get my formula approved by TTB, but because,
I know that there's some kind of weird rule about it's got to be like Kentucky or something.
No.
Okay.
I thought that's where you were going, because we have something in our bourbon other than grain.
Okay.
But really, you can make bourbon in any state in the country.
Okay.
Now, I get Kentucky really made an attempt to say bourbon can only come out of Kentucky.
Okay. I had heard that somewhere.
That is
false.
False.
Okay.
What is true, though, is that your mash bill has to be at least 51% corn.
Okay.
It has to go into new American oak barrels.
Okay.
And it can't come off of your still more than 160 proof when you distilling.
Okay.
And it did at one time have an age designation, but there's no age designation on just a bourbon. But if you get into the straight bourbons and some of the other things, there's age designations.
It's a deep rabbit hole.
Yes, it's a deep rabbit hole. But the other thing is, bourbon is a type of whiskey, just like rye whiskey or wheat whiskey or Canadian whiskey. We are producing a bourbon product. However, we can't call it a whiskey because we have, one of the products, we have another one that's in barrels that we are going to be able to call it bourbon.
Okay.
But we put sweet potato spirit in our brown, right?
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So we can't call that a whiskey. So
what do you call it?
We are working now to come up with the right name. It got folded over into what the government calls a specialty spirits category. So essentially, say you can call it whatever you want to. You just can't call it whiskey.
I was trying to think of some way to like sweet ski.
Yeah.
They're trying to. It comes off bad. You'll think of something great.
We've got something in mind. I just haven't released it yet.
Okay.
But we are going to, and the product itself is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. We pull some out of the barrels.
Sounds super unique.
Yeah. Just like sweet potato vodka, right?
Right.
So if we're going to be, like you've heard of, Kentucky bourbon, clearly.
Yeah.
Tennessee makes a bourbon. They don't call it bourbon.
Right.
Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
So we are going to create a category for what Arkansas is producing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Just watch out.
All you need is Chris Stapleton to cover a song about it, and then it's huge.
Then it's huge. If the product's good, the people will come, they'll enjoy it, and
the founder of Chick-fil-A, famous quote from him is, if your product or service is good enough, the market will demand that you grow.
That's actually true.
Yeah. Well, and that's how, I mean, it's a very simple quote, but there's like some levels of complexity there, right? It's like, it's a quote about not growing beyond your demand, not trying to just force growth too quickly.
Yep.
Some really good advice in there.
Yeah.
And also it's like, I take it as good advice of focusing on the product.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's really, really difficult to change markets, just by like brute force, take a bunch of money and whatever.
Yeah.
As anyone that's listening to this podcast, you'll be much better focusing on just improving your quality of product or service.
Yeah.
Just make it so, I mean, people pay you out the ears for something they really like or really need.
Yeah. Yep.
So just try to make it as good as you can.
Yep. We are creating something that hopefully is really enjoyable for people to taste and share. And really just experience this.
Well, yeah, you're offering not just, it's not just a vodka. By buying it, you're supporting a local business if you're here. And you're almost like, as a customer, like I will leave here today, a customer, after hearing the story, once you educate people on that story and stuff, it's like, I now feel like I'm like a part of this story in a small way.
Which is what I really enjoy when we give tours here and people just kind of walk through the process and they hear the story, hear the origin of that. And then at the end of that great story, let's try this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a since you've already got this like tourist destination, you need the real estate part of me is like, you need like an Airbnb out at the farm.
What is it called? Agri-tourism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like agri-tourism mixed, like that's kind of a niche thing.
Yeah.
But you're also mixing it with like distillery tourism. I know countless people that go do the Tennessee tours and the Kentucky tours and whatever. Yeah. Like, it's going to be probably a little bit harder to do an Arkansas tour. Yeah. Like, I mean, we just don't have Distillery Row or probably like whatever they call it. Yeah. But I guarantee you'd have some people that want to stay out at an Airbnb on the farm and actually like get the tour of where the sweet potatoes are grown.
Yeah.
And, you know, have a little sweet potato bourbon in their coffee in the morning. And,
come out during growing season. You could help me dig your own.
You can dig your own sweet potatoes. Like it sounds like, you know, that's something I imagine your dad would have just like.
Oh yeah, he'd have eaten that up. Yeah, he really would have.
Yeah,
people
are going to pay us to come dig up their own sweet potatoes. It's like, they will.
I've heard of bottling parties where they come into the distillery and they bottle. We can go out and have some dig parties. Yeah. I mean, it's part of it sounds kind of like silly. Yeah. But in the world we live in today, you mentioned like changes in the workplace with this new generation. It's like what gets this new generation going is actually having an experience, because everything now is virtual. I think those real world experiences where somebody actually gets to go out into a field and like pull a sweet potato up and then come in here and actually see how it happens. It's like there's going to, I think there already is, but I think the trend continues, a real increase in experiences like that. Yep. You know, I had an agricultural engineering student from UAPB work this past summer, and this past summer was the second summer he had worked. The first summer, I think we were actually still hand washing, but you know, he started to grunt, hand washing, grinding, and really doing work back there. He did some bottling, and then this past year, he actually helped us during the planting season. Okay. And spraying the cultivating those sweet potatoes, and he didn't get to dig. He was already back in college, but to take from the field and for him to see that and then here, cut those potatoes, grind that, and be a part of that process. Hopefully, I'm enriching his ag engineering experience, his college experience has been supplemented with some real world stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, if you had me working at a distillery in college, I might have drank them out of business.
No.
It was a fox in the hen house situation.
Yeah. No, I mean, it hadn't been anything like that because it doesn't really get exposed to anything up here. It's all about the agriculture process.
Right.
And we've had agriculture students to come in here and for them to see that raw material turn into a finished product and all of those steps in between and to learn about it, understand it, smell it, see it, touch it. To me, I think it's impactful.
Oh, 100%. And it's that stuff you can't learn in a textbook.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you need some of both.
Yeah, that's right.
Books,
you do.
The classic book smart and street smart or whatever.
Yeah. We had to actually go to academia to help us figure out this process because there is a reason why not many people are using sweet potatoes to make alcohol. There's a clear reason. And
there's some tricks to it.
One of those is fully extracting the sugar from those sweet potatoes. And I absolutely have to give my wife credit. She found a professor to be able to help us to do that. And he broke it down to some complexities that we didn't understand. And actually he said the sugars that are in sweet potatoes, there's a lot there, but they're complex sugars. And you guys' challenge in what you're doing is to extract and break those complex sugars down into simple fermentable sugars. And it's not an easy process.
See, now, when you started talking about that, my brain started going back in some old files of like the glycemic index and why sweet potatoes are healthier for you than regular potatoes because they don't spike your insulin like white potatoes because the sugars are complex. But I wouldn't have thought about that in the distilling process till you said that.
Yep. And the reason that's important, at least for us on the production side, is that once we unlock those sugars, our yields
went up
because
you were
almost
leaving
exponentially.
You're leaving a lot unextracted
sugars. Yeah. And because once we do that and we distill the alcohol off of it, the waste goes back to the farm and it's blended in with hay and things and it's fed to our cows.
Yeah. Okay.
So they were getting more than what they should have been getting. I need to get all of that out. And then they go back and the grain and the sweet potatoes that we distill off, it's fed to the cows.
That's a beautiful thing. It's just like the circle of life.
It's full circle. It ends up back at the farm.
Wow.
Someone was telling me that was on a tour and like, wow, so your cows on this diet of what you guys, the byproduct of what you guys produce here. I'm like, to some extent, we it's supplemented with hay and some.
And then what the cows eat ends up back in the fields where we grow the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, and she said, well, have you killed one of those cows and tried the beef? Is it taste unique? I'm like, I have not. But you may be onto something.
This may be a steak restaurant before you know it. Yeah. Sweet potato beef is on the menu.
It is pretty amazing how you can get creative and the imagination can lead you to some interesting places, couldn't it?
She may be onto something.
I know.
I really want a sweet potato cow steak now. I can tell you that. It sounds really good. We must be getting close to lunchtime because you said that and I'm like, oh man, it does sound really good.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, if you're willing, I would love to get a tour of some of this. I think we'll film some of that.
Okay.
I don't know if that's going to be a separate video or not. So we'll go ahead and tell everybody how to find you if they want to get some of y'all's products here.
We absolutely come to the distillery right here in downtown historic Helena, West Helena, Arkansas. And schedule a tour. I'd love to show you around or just enjoy the space. And,
I don't know how much of it you can see on camera, but it's wonderful in here.
Bring a friend, bring a girlfriend, and have a date. And we are on social media. So our youngest son actually does all of our social media. And I'm really grateful that he enjoys that because, Facebook.
It's a lot.
Instagram, And we have a website, deltadirtdistillery.com.
Perfect.
Yeah, and Arkansas is not one of those states that allow you to order spirits online. They haven't approved e-commerce for spirits. You can join a wine club and have wine delivered to your home.
Right.
But for those states that are out there that allow spirits to be delivered to their home, we are now available in over 35 states.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can,
Reserve
if you
Bar.
go to Delta Dirt Distillery.
Yeah, it'll take you to, if you want to order online, it'll take you to Reserve Bar, and they can order it. And it'll clearly, when you put in your address, say yes or no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are ordering and having it delivered to their homes or their local liquor store.
Yeah.
And getting it there. We are
So
shipping
if you're
to,
in Arkansas, I assume it's got like a list of distributors where you can find it.
Actually, if you go through our website,
Okay.
and it has a map. My son did this amazing map,
Okay.
right? So it has every store
Perfect.
across the
Yeah.
state where you
Right.
can,
You can
go
find
and
it.
find it. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really want to go look at the rest of it and hear how some of this stuff goes down. So
Yeah.
if this is the end of this video, this is the end of the podcast. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to check out the other video where we go look at some of the awesome stuff that's going on here. Be sure to check out Delta Dirt. And if this is all in the same video, then keep watching. We're going to go check some stuff out.
Thank you, GT. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching. If you liked that video as much as we liked making it, be sure to check out another one. You got one here. You got another one over here. If you want to listen to the podcast audio only, go check out the Spotify link in the description. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It helps us out a ton. And please hit the bell if you want notifications anytime we drop a new video. Hope to see you on the next one.